out in Pomona, California, and that organization had cared for the locomotive from 1961 until they very graciously returned it to the Union Pacific in 2012. And here to my left is Austin Barker. He's, for all intents and purposes, my right and my left arm in many cases. But Austin also is a qualified steam locomotive fireman. Austin's been with our team since 2010 and has a wealth of welding, metal fabrication, metal sourcing, and just about anything. He's just become a very all-around, very talented right-hand person for me. And he knows this locomotive very, very well. And we've got Jim Leonard here. Jim is a retired Union Pacific Corridor manager, and he travels with us, and he serves as our passenger liaison on public excursions, and he helps us with crowd interaction and crowd control. And we appreciate all the years that he's helped us out. We have Kurt Clark, locomotive engineer, locomotive fireman, steam locomotive fireman. We're going to talk about the jobs that everybody does a little bit more in depth, but Kurt brings just his physical size and his determination and passion. You heard the laughs behind me. When we have big jobs, Kurt's the one that does it. Where's Donnie, by the way? Yeah, Donnie's hiding from us. Yes. But Donnie and Kurt are a two-man team, and oftentimes you'll see them working together just very tirelessly. Our newest member of the team is John Stravino. John's got great welding experience and metal fabricating experience that he brings, along with some new great passion and enthusiasm. And just to John's left is Jimmy Thompson, the other part of our Boilermaker team. Jimmy has spent countless hours inside the firebox and inside the boiler, doing all the necessary work that you have to do just to maintain the locomotive on a routine basis. During the rebuild, he was heavily involved in thousands and thousands of welds. And on the far left is Ted Schulte, our steam locomotive engineer and steam locomotive fireman extraordinaire. So Ted and I have known each other for years. He and Austin have been with me since the early days of 2010. And Ted is just a fabulous member of our team. He's excellent in all things. Just an all-around very talented person. So we'll start off our questions, and we're going to also involve some of our team that is with us that are behind-the-scenes teams. We've got our mechanical forces from the Heritage Shop. We've got Tracy Murray, Kevin Atkins, Tom Sikora, and Randy Haggie. And they represent the force behind this passenger train that we're standing on right now. It's easy for us to focus on the steam locomotive because of what the steam locomotive is. It's at the front of the train, and it generally receives a lot of the attention. What people don't realize is what it takes to keep this passenger train running. Look at how beautiful this train is maintained. And it's in their care, in their hands at all times. And they have got a very well-equipped shop with a very large staff of very skilled technicians back there representing a lot of different, very highly skilled crafts that work on this train. So I'd like to just take a moment or two, and Randy's going to talk about some of the things that he does. Is he and Tracy manage what we call our power cars. And this train is powered by 480 volts of power, and I'll let Randy tell you all about what that entails. Randy?
Randy Haggie, I'm part of the Heritage Fleet operation. We are housed in Council Bluffs, Iowa, across the river from UP's headquarters in Omaha. We have about 35 cars in the fleet, and we have a staff of approximately 25 individuals of all crafts, carmen, electricians, pipe fitters, painters, and carpenters to maintain these cars. And obviously, as you can tell, we spend a lot of time taking care of this equipment before we come out here and complement these steam teams. The power car we have on here has two 380 kW generators on it.
Nice to meet you.
That has to be maintained. We have to fuel it every other day.
I have a YouTube channel called Use the
water the cars
Railcamper.
every day. We have to make sure all the air conditioners are working, the showers, restrooms, everything. Other than that, I'm not sure what I'd like to say here.
Well, thank you, Randy. They work side by side with us, so when we're out on these trips, please don't hesitate to approach any one of us if you have any questions about anything. Randy, Tracy, Kevin Atkins, Tom Sikora, Christine Bleski, Marine Helper, all of us are here to help answer any questions you have, and they're really the driving force that keeps this train running. Okay, we're ready for your first question. Let's give some tough questions out there.
Ed, I think this is going to be a tough one.
Howdy, Tom Lytle here at Houston. The question for one of y'all is, what fuel do y'all use for your steam generator in the car behind the tenders?
I'm going to let Ted answer that one.
Ooh.
In our boiler dorm car, we have a boiler which we can jumpstart basically the steam engine out in the field. Everything fired on diesel fuel. We can start a cold locomotive in the field if we've been have to do a boiler wash in the field. If we exceed our service days, we're allowed 30 days out in the field basically. There's also a generator, I'm not sure the capacity on it, that's diesel electric. 208 kW diesel generator, same as Randy's equipment, that also runs on diesel fuel.
Thank you very much. Here we have question number 2.
Hi, I'm Diana from Fort Worth. Do Donnie and Kirk handle derailments on their own, or derailments? If you have derailments, because the engineer told me this one only hauls the heavy, the big stuff, the heavy stuff, not necessarily passenger train. The big boy handles the heavier type equipment or stuff. So my question is, if you have a derailment or something like that, is this handles it any better, or is the same? You have to take care of it regardless of the size of whatever you're hauling or pulling.
I heard part of your question. Are you asking about the power and the strength of the locomotive?
Of that one compared to others that just pull passenger trains.
Yes. Well, her question, if you weren't able to hear that, if I heard you correctly, about the power of the locomotive and how it handles the train.
And derailments, if there's a derailment.
If there's a derailment, like ahead of us, or the track is out of service or something, well, yes.
Ed, I think she thinks that this is hauling freight. Do you think the big boy hauls freight?
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, it was originally designed as a freight hauler. So its new life now is pulling this really nice passenger train in what we call excursion service. So its new life now, since we rebuilt it back in 2019, is to go around with Randy and Kevin and Tracy and the Council Bluffs team pulling this passenger train here. Now who knows, maybe there may be a business purpose where our leadership would want us to pull a freight train with it. We'd love to do that. That would be exciting.
That'd be cool.
Did I answer your question for you, Diana? Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you very much, Ed. Our next question.
I'd like to know how many gallons per mile it takes to move this, say, minimum load.
I would see it.
All right, Kurt's going to take that
more
one.
than a passenger special. I remember, I think back in 2019, they had the
So the question was, you wanted to know what the gallons per mile is. It's about 10 to 15 on fuel.
Yeah.
Anywhere from 150 to 200 gallons of water a mile. So you can definitely tell that it likes fuel and water when you're up there firing the engine. It's a wonderful boiler design, and it's very, very, very forgiving in a lot of ways. But it definitely teaches you new stuff every day, and we couldn't be more happy with the way that it performs and runs, and it far exceeds any of our expectations. Thank you.
Ed, I had a question earlier this morning that we didn't get to, and that was, how many people does it take to operate this train, the big boy?
Well, it takes 2 to operate it, but it takes thousands and thousands to keep it running, as we've talked. It takes one locomotive engineer and one locomotive fireman. When we operate it in the manner in which we're operating it, we have what we call a pilot crew with us. So we've got a qualified conductor and engineer combo who are assigned with us each
Hi,
day
Jim.
from each region that we're operating on.
Hey, John.
And they're familiar with the route that we'll be traveling.
You never, if not, I
So
will be
the
here.
fireman is the one that generates,
Your Houston Rail family.
develops the power to generate the steam, and the
filming this for
engineer is
YouTube?
physically operating the locomotive,
Look forward, I'll
controlling the
see it.
speed and
Yeah.
those details.
I'm going to title it Q&A
Okay, we
with
have a
the
question here from Zachary.
4014.
Hi, I'm Zachary, and
You don't
I'm
mind if
from
I show this
Houston.
video?
I'm 12 years old, and I would like to
That'd
know,
be great. Well, thank
are
you.
the water tenders there just for decoration, or do they actually haul water or some other liquid in there?
Really? I got a question.
Jimmy.
I want to ask
The
them how fast
question,
they ever got
are the water cars for looks, or are they actually doing something? Yes, they are doing something. They each haul 28,000 gallons of water, and there's 2 water cars, and then the tender hauls water, and they're all hooked together with water legs, and so the water balances between the 3 of them as we fill the boiler with water. So.
We had another question this morning. They wanted to know what you guys are doing when you pull into a whistle stop, and what are you doing to the big boy in terms of maintenance?
Hello. As far as when we get out to lubricate the engine at a given town, a given stop, the primary issue is to make sure that all of the side rods and the main rods have adequate lubrication. You hear the pulsing of those pneumatic grease guns when we get out. They take the sticks of lubricant, and those are forced down into the journals of all of those moving parts. That's where your loading is, and if those go dry, you start to burn bearings. The other things that are attended to, sometimes when at a stop you'll see usually Jimmy with a ladder out there climbing up on those little lubricators, and those are mechanical DB7 lubricators. They have valve oil and engine oil, and they keep all of the other moving parts lubricated.
John, you can go ahead, Zach.
Okay, I have another question here. Can you give us your name and where you're from?
Zach, Louisiana. I was just wondering how fast y'all plan on running the locomotive, or what you're limiting the locomotive to as far as speed goes.
We didn't get that, Robin.
He wants to know how fast you're going to operate the locomotive. I think he wants to know kind of a general speed range that you're operating this locomotive on this tour. And how fast can it go?
So generally, we run the locomotive, at track speed. A lot of times we'll keep a slower speed so that people can keep up with us. There's a lot of people that want to see the train. 45 on this thing doesn't sound very fast, like if you were in your car, but when you're up on that locomotive, 45 is moving right along, especially when you've got crowds of people that are close by. And that's why we ask everybody to be 25 feet back. This is a big locomotive. It's a lot wider than the rails. And when we're moving along and we're coming into a crowd of people, we'll slow it down quite a bit, so that way they can have time to get out of the way. It's something that it concerns us, and we want everybody to stay 25 feet back and stay safe. So we'll operate the locomotive at a safe speed that we feel is per the conditions.
And props to you guys for having people all around the track. I can only imagine how stressful that must be, running a train like this, people being next to the track all the time. Great job, guys.
Did you hear that, guys? He wanted to give you props for running this train with all the stress of having people gather around it from stop to stop. And I'm here to say that I've seen Ed and the crew, take care of people time and time again, urging them to get back and to get back. So props to all of you for putting safety first.
Hello, my name is John Newman from Sugarland, Texas. I got a question. How loud is the steam whistle?
How loud? Sir.
Ooh, got him on that one.
Loud. Loud. That's how loud it is. Loud.
It's loud enough to where I would encourage wearing hearing protection.
Good
Loud.
answer.
It's loud. That's all I know. It's loud.
It's very loud. You can feel it right down to your bones when you feel that. You hear that low moan Hancock 3 chime. It's a wonderful sound, but you definitely want to have earplugs in.
Does it sound like a typical steam engine whistle? Or does it sound different than today's whistle?
And that one.
Yeah, it's a whistle, not a horn.
That's a good one.
Okay, moving right along.
One other quick point about the whistle. So if you ever happen to find yourself along a crossing and you've told everybody